gotten to our big story of the week, of the year probably,
Yes, the end of the year. But this is truly how the year ends.
and that is our Star Wars: The Last Jedi movie review.
Mm-hmm. Very much ready for this one.
Do you want to summarize this one?
Yeah, it picks up shortly after the events of The Force Awakens in a very hilarious way, by the way, but I won't spoil how.
Yes.
Um, where Rey finds Luke and pushes her, and Luke wants, and Rey wants to push Luke, and either coming back or at least training her to be in the way of the Jedi. Luke refuses for reasons he explains in the movie, which again I won't spoil.
Right.
Kylo Ren is going through his own little journey through, I mean, battle between light and dark, and all this is going on, and then even on top of all this, you had the First Order versus the Resistance, and how all those pieces are playing together, and then into all of this interwoven drama, and it wasn't as good as The Force Awakens.
Whoa. That's a controversial opinion.
Yes, very much so. But I think that has more to do with the fact that The Force Awakens was like nostalgia
Yeah,
over.
that's a thing you're never gonna get back.
Yes, and I think that's the problem I have to get over myself. And in the comments, they're gonna rage and destroy me, and I hope they rage and destroy while actually watching the video because that gives us views,
Right.
and we need those. But I'm willing to take a bullet for this, and if it gets us views, but I actually didn't say that the movie was bad. Let me preface it that the movie's not bad. I enjoyed it very much. My cheeks still hurt from smiling from watching it. But I'm just saying it's not as good as The Force Awakens because
This
that left
is
so many questions open that when you left, you were like, okay, what does this mean? What does that mean? Okay, what's Luke going to do? It was like when everything happened in that movie, it left you a breadcrumb to lead to something else. Everything in this movie kind of happens.
you're not wrong. I This movie did feel like a middle movie.
It felt like everything happened, and now we get to the end.
And there were some reveals and some surprises in this movie that I didn't see coming, but at the same time, it make me feel anything.
Yeah, it was like there was a certain scene with a certain character using force that like, oh.
So yeah, there was
There was the initial.
some emotional things that didn't quite hit. They didn't quite hit
Note that you
land well.
wanted it to.
Right.
Yeah.
So, because there was a character from like um, older Star Wars movies that shows up in here that I didn't really feel anything about him coming in there. So I'm
Yeah,
trying not to spoil this.
it was a shock to see that they did it, but it was
Right.
like, huh. When what he does is kind of cool though.
Now there were what did hit every single emotional note for me was the very ending of the movie. I felt pretty much everything I felt like I needed to by the end of the
Yeah.
movie. But there
By
was
the
some
end of the
stuff in the
movie,
middle of the movie where it starts to lose a little bit of steam. Uh,
but I will give them credit on one thing when it comes to Kylo Ren's motivation. That's a very different motivation for a villain. Because
yes.
it doesn't really make him a villain.
Right. Yeah,
I'm
that
not gonna say what his motivation is. What happens in this movie and it's like I want to say, but I don't want to say because it's very clever.
I feel like we need
And
to do a spoiler review right after this.
yeah, I
Cuz
feel
I
like we
do
need
there
to.
are a lot I need to talk about.
Yeah, because his character might be the most complex Star Wars character ever written.
Which is what I like. I mean, I like the complexity of these characters more than say what they did in the original trilogy, I guess, where it was complex for in a different reason,
Yeah,
where it was just because it was I don't know a lot of vagueness, I guess. I know George Lucas liked to leave a lot of things to the imagination.
yeah.
Uh,
And that was more to do with how they did things back in the day with the news. Like this would be like the short you would see before the movie. So it'd be like his always idea for Star Wars was, what if we just made a long version of those shorts?
Right. And I know there's been a lot of reviews that have complained about the amount of comedy in this movie. I
And
didn't
I
have a problem with it. I didn't have too much of a problem with
there's
it.
comedy in all Star Wars movies, so
Yes.
that's not a knock against it. And most of the comedy in the movie is well earned comedy. And there are some scenes, well, I will admit that it kind of went, why is this here?
Right.
But then they would do something else and would go, okay, that's earned.
Because if I think there would have been a problem with this being too dark or too any I don't know they would have found something else to complain about if
And I do want to say one more thing.
hmm,
A lot of these Star Wars fans, and I'm going to get some hate for this comment too. Hopefully, we get some traction.
hmm,
Star Wars fans need to get over themselves sometimes.
I agree.
Because right now, the reason why I say they need to get over themselves, critically, and I know most people don't care what Rotten Tomatoes says, critically on Rotten Tomatoes right now, it sits at a 93%.
Right. Oh, okay. I know where you're going with this one. Yeah.
But the audience is currently sitting at a 56.
You know, there's probably a lot of people voting too that haven't even seen the movie yet.
Yeah, they probably are. But the reason why I say they need to get over themselves too, I believe a lot of the voting for their audience rating is because they feel like, I guess they feel that since they didn't predict the movie's bad.
Yeah.
Since what they thought and everything they came into didn't happen, oh, this movie's terrible. Whoa. No, it was the story they wanted to tell. You don't get mad because the story they told didn't match up with what you wanted to see.
And the other thing about this movie was that I was really surprised about, which isn't a spoiler or anything, is Snoke.
Oh yeah,
That was some of the. That was a very Andy Serkis is Snoke, right?
yes.
That was probably another one, amazing performance from him, from his performance capture. But as far as the realism, it actually seemed to work for me.
Yeah,
For how realistically he worked, you saw every bit of his emotion, which was really awesome. It's something that you don't really get in a lot of these.
Well, you gotta remember he did that before with an ape. So
Oh yes,
being a human he's already done deformed humanoid before, so
right.
it's not that much of a stretch for him to do it again with better technology.
So yeah, I thought I was very surprised at how well it worked for me emotionally and how realistic it was. So
yeah, because that whole the fight scenes were pretty cool too. All the skirmishes and battles they had in the movie,
yes,
they were well done as well.
yeah. And yeah, every battle scene was eye candy. It seemed like it worked so well.
And you know who's slowly becoming my favorite character in these later Star Wars movies?
Poe?
Hux.
Hux. Oh. Yeah, I liked some of the stuff with Hux in this movie.
Because he was, to me, he was one of the funny characters in the movie.
Yes. I think I had the best laugh in the movie with him.
Oh yeah. I think I know which scene you're talking about too.
Yeah, when he reacts to something Kylo does.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, all of he was like a really like good, well done character as well because like you hated him, but there's something would happen where you go, man, well he's just getting a bad end of the stick.
Yes. And I liked there were some reunions in this movie that I'm not gonna say any of who they were, but some of the reunions in this movie got me a little bit nostalgic, I guess you can say.
Oh yeah.
Especially well, I'm not gonna. We already know Luke is in this movie, but pretty much every reunion Luke goes through in this movie is really good.
It's pretty much like it's kind of like the Skywalker reunion tour.
Yes.
The band's getting back together.
There is one thing that actually I don't feel like I don't know. It's not necessarily. I will talk about.
Just to be safe.
I'll save it for the spoiler review. Yes.
Yes, we'll just do like a quick little spoiler review because we don't want to be up too late.
Right. Well, yeah, we'll save that for the end. So, music in the movie worked great,
Oh yeah, the music, Star Wars music is no doubt great.
and cinematography was on
No
point.
doubt great.
It was so good.
The creature designs were pretty cool too. I will
Yes.
give them credit. The creature designs were pretty cool.
Oh yes. The
Oh, except
porgs.
for one, which I'll talk about in the spoiler review.
Is it something that has to do with crystals?
No, I thought those were cool.
Okay.
I was talking more to deal with the bar scene.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I know what you mean now.
Yeah, yeah, and by the way, yep, they go to a bar like they do in every Star Wars movie. But hey, gotta have a callback somewhere.
Oh my goodness. Then I'm leaving out Benicio del Toro. His character was, man, I don't know. I liked his character so much for a little while, for parts of this movie. So yeah, I will say when he's not in there a lot, but he does take up. He steals a lot of the show for his scenes that he's in.
Oh, you're talking about Benicio?
Yeah, Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, yes. His character was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I do like his character, and in the way they set him up, he's coming back for 9.
Oh yeah.
You just don't drop a character like that and then do nothing with him the next movie.
Right.
He's deaf coming back.
Oh yeah. And he's probably enjoying these checks from Disney that he's been getting the last couple years.
Great, yes.
Yeah. Star Wars, Marvel. He's getting it all in
there. He
there.
gets a collector check, and then he gets the Star Wars check now.
Yeah.
Like,
The code, code breaker, is that what he's called? Did they ever really get a name? They just call him the code breaker or something. I don't remember
his
if he
name,
ever had
I think, was DJ.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I loved his character, but
His character was pretty cool.
but I think who really, I don't know. If I had to say who had the most standout performance in this movie, I'd say it's kind of a tie between Kylo Ren, Adam Driver.
Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley.
Well, yeah. Well, I like Daisy Ridley a lot. I think she was probably the most standout female performer in this movie, but that's expected. But
yeah.
Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker,
yeah.
he pretty much pretty much overall he stole the show in this movie.
Like Mark Hamill came back and was like, "Yep, I'm Luke Skywalker, just older."
Yes.
That's it. I'm Luke older. I'm
Yeah,
done.
he seemed to not have. He just was able to pick up on this character with no problems. It's like he's lived it. No.
It's like this. It's like when he opened his mouth and started talking about things. It's like, yeah, I believe he went through that.
Yes.
It doesn't sound like he's reading a script when he's reading Luke Skywalker. It's just like, well, it's time to go back to the band.
Right.
Pick up the set list. Let's do this.
Okay, but I will say though, regardless of whether or not I agree with you, if this is not as good as Force Awakens, I feel like I when you said that, I'd never thought about it, but now I'm actually having to think about it, whether or not I thought this was better than the Force Awakens. I don't know. I'm not quite there yet, but I will say that this is probably the most fun I've had in a movie theater in a long time.
Yeah. This was a good. It was fun. I'm not saying anything against it as a fun experience. No, it's all fun. Like I told you, I had smiles all throughout the movie. But as far as like leaving me something to chew on after it was done,
Right.
I feel like I didn't get that. And that was like what The Force Awakens gave me. Like a lot of questions that you were left with for The Force Awakens kind of just get answered in this one with no new questions left for the last one.
That's true. That is true. I agree with you on that too. And some of the answers that we did get fell flat.
Underwhelming.
They kind of they were underwhelming and they fell flat.
Yeah, it's like if you weren't paying attention, you probably missed one.
So I don't know if this movie needed more runtime,
I
Uh,
don't think runtime was an issue. I just think what this was is like we said, this was the middle one.
right. It's the middle one, so maybe
Th-
maybe we'll feel a little more.
Now that we have to close things up in the last one, things will probably get more intense and everything. Right now, we just watched a 2.5 hours of them shuffling the game board,
Right.
and now it's time for the final round. That's pretty much what the Last Jedi was. You shuffled all the pieces, rename some, give some characters new abilities, and then end movie. And then you and then you rinse and repeat in episode 9, whatever they're gonna call it.
Yeah. Yeah. You did give me something to think about. Yeah. There were some answers from the first one that they fell flat a little bit. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this movie 8.5 out of 10.
I was thinking, you know what? Here's the thing about mine. Here's the thing about me. I left the theater when I was in the theater by myself watching the movie. When it got done, I have been teetering from an 8 to an 8.5 all day.
Yes.
As I'm sitting in front of you now, I haven't decided whether 8 or 8.5 yet.
Well, I will say I chose 8 because that's where I was. I was between 8 and 8.5. But I chose the 8.5 because I did leave pretty satisfied, and I left with a smile on my face.
I'll go 8.5 too then, because
Okay.
like I said, and by the time it was over, I didn't feel like I wasted my time,
Right.
and I did leave like going, all right, let's go to 9. I was like ready to see the next one.
Right.
So I'm not gonna hurt it too bad by giving it an 8. I will give it an 8.5 though, because it doesn't deserve a 9 though to me at all.
And some of the when I talked about there were some answers or questions that were answered in this movie. Some of them I'm not completely convinced are the actual answers.
Yeah, and there may have been some red herrings and things thrown in here too.
Yes, I think there was some of that, some mind trickery, some Jedi mind trickery going on
Yeah,
in this movie.
yeah, like did you really believe that was the answer kind of thing?
Yes, exactly.
And so when they drop the real answer on us on 9, we go, what?
Yes. So that's actually something I want to talk about in this spoiler review because
Yeah,
I'm dying now to
okay.
talk about it.
We'll touch on that for a little bit.